Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Welcome to the stream. It's our usual 3 p.m. chat. This is Life, Love, and Lipidemia. Welcome to the show. Welcome, welcome. If you're here, say hello so I know that you're here and you can hear me. Today is the second part of a series where we invite one very, very special guest to come in and have a chat with us. And this guy is none other than our professional MC friend, Jackie. So last week, when Jackie was here, he actually spoke about gaining clarity in your thoughts, clarity in your ideas. And he also taught us how to quickly build rapport and be comfortable with our audience. Well, today, he's going to talk about something really important as well, and that's confidence. But before we start, let me show you guys something.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, now is the time when I give you a show. All right, this person is judo trained. I'm also judo trained. Let's have a demonstration. Ladies and gentlemen, the judo crowd,
How was that? How often do you see a person get thrown on stage? And much less the host of the show. So please join me in welcoming our guest for today, Jackie. Hello, Jackie.
Hello. Thanks for having me again. Yeah.
Hey, welcome
Thanks
back
for
to
letting
the
me be your very, very special guest.
so nice. It's so nice to have you here. I mean, this entire series, it's really about conversations. And as when we got to know each other a few years back, we've always had these types of conversations. It's nothing new to both of us. These are things that we speak about. And it's just that now we're just being really kind and sharing it with the world.
Of course, the honor is all mine.
Okay, so our main topic today is actually in confidence. So
Yeah.
perhaps let's get started with this. How important is it for an MC to be confident in himself?
How important is it for an MC to be confident? Sorry, what's the last part?
To be confident in himself.
In myself. Okay.
Mm.
I think that is I think the straightforward answer would be that it is very important, right? Yeah, but then of course, it's easy to say that it is important, but then when it comes to doing things, it's not so easy. It's not so straightforward. I say, yeah, I got to be confident. Then we have it. No, of course, I think the very natural response, the very natural reaction to doing a lot of things is actually nervousness, especially if you notice something, right? The more serious you are about doing it well, doing it right, the more nervous you will be. And I think often that comes across as that we tend to think of that nervousness as a sign that we are not confident. Yeah. So I think confident being confident being confident is very, very important. But then of course we need to be able to deal with our personal reactions to things, our involuntary responses to it, right? So I think I
So
just address why
as an
it is.
MC, there is also the involuntary part of it.
Yes,
That you have.
involuntary.
What do you mean by that?
So like Okay, give a very simple example. The very simple example of giving a presentation. I think in school, a lot of us we would have given presentations before, and yeah, before the presentations, right? We will normally have a lot of us will have nervousness. Why? Either it's because whether it's speaking in front of a crowd, or whether it's the I think a lot of times it also comes from the worry of whether am I going to be able to do it well, right? What if I screw up? What if I mess up? And that I think that is a very natural response because we are very intent on doing it well. We start to worry more about whether or not what sort of things might go wrong. Yep. So that is the involuntary response to that is the involuntary reaction we have to trying to be confident. Yeah.
Oh, so there is the voluntary response and the involuntary response.
Yeah. That's right.
So tell me a bit more about the voluntary response.
Voluntary response.
Mm.
And the conscious mind is telling us that okay, we have to be confident, we have to do it well, right? Yeah. And I think a lot of times we recognize the fact that we have rehearsed over and over again, or sometimes whether we have done it a lot of times. Even though I have been on stage, I've entertained a lot of audiences, but sometimes before I enter before I go onto stage again, there's that nervousness welling up, right? I guess so. So that is that. So the voluntary response is the voluntary thing that we want to do is to we want to do it well. Yeah, and I think
So that's the pressure
deep
that you're
down
putting on yourself to do well.
yes, that's right. Deep down we recognize that we have the capability, the experience, right? But then there's always that nervousness that wells up. Yeah.
But
So
it's
that's
pretty
the
normal to be nervous, right? I mean, it's
yeah.
like for me, before every class I teach, before every speech I give, there's always that sense of nervousness. There's always that a lot of things tend to go through your mind. I mean, do you get that? I
Yeah.
mean, you are so experienced already, having done so many events. Do you still get that nervousness?
Of course, just like you, just like you, right? Before every class, before every speech you give, there is that nervousness. There is that nervousness. But then that nervousness, that nervousness, sometimes we interpret it as a form of unconfidence, that lack of confidence. But the thing is that if we focus on that nervousness, it starts to manifest itself in the appearance of lack of confidence, like stuttering, stumbling over ourselves. A the I think the more significant one or the more important thing that we overlook is uh, the subconscious appearance. It comes out in our posture, like not just in our actions but in our posture itself, like whether it's slumped shoulders, closed body language, and that itself it causes people to view us as, hey, this guy doesn't look very confident, is he competent? Actually, yeah.
So you're
So
actually drawing a difference between the nervousness because they are not confident and the nervousness because they are not competent.
mm, I think no. I think it's nervousness is definitely there, right? It's definitely there. I'm talking about being experienced people. Like no matter
Mm,
how experienced you are, right? There will be that nervousness, right? There will be that nervousness, especially when you are delivering something you are very you are very serious about.
mhm.
You are delivering it to an audience, whether it's one person, like in a counseling session, or whether it's a group of people, like delivering a speech or a presentation. Yeah.
Do you find it different as a professional MC whether you are performing or entertaining in front of a small event versus a large event? I mean, it could be a 20, 30 plus people event, or it could be a 500, 1,000 people event. Does it feel very different for you?
Definitely there are differences. Yeah. I mean, to me there is the number itself, it becomes a point of intimidation. Right? Whether if there's a lot of people, then we may not see like there's so many people that it makes us feel afraid, but the knowledge itself, the knowledge of like, oh my god, there are 500 people, there are 1,000 people at this event, it starts to become a sort of pressure. Yeah. But if we take away the numbers, right? If we take away that it's 30 people event, whether it's a 500 people event, I think to me, at least to me, I don't feel that it's that big of a difference. There is a difference as to how I would engage the crowd. If for a large scale event versus a very cozy intimate event, there are differences. But I think the point is that we want to realize that the thing that is putting pressure on us that's putting pressure on us is actually not the actual event itself, but the uh, interpretation, like that such a huge number is the knowledge of that huge number is the thing that intimidates us.
So
Yeah.
what you're saying is that it actually all comes to perspective.
Yes,
That,
yes.
because
So
if
it's like what we're focusing on. Yeah,
okay. Because
yeah,
it's a small event or a large event, it's still an event that we have to perform. We
yeah,
still have to do our
yeah,
job.
yeah.
As
I think
mentioned last week, we really have to remember our purpose of why
yes,
we're actually getting involved in that kind of work, right?
yep.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, Helen.
Hi,
Helen says,
Helen.
"Hi, Jackie.
Helen is a wonderful, very, very friendly photographer. I love working with her. I actually did the photos in the posters, right? The
Mm-hmm.
photos in the posters you put up, those were actually taken by her. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, it's
wow.
really a very wonderful experience. So if you're looking to get any like professional studio shots done up, you can work with her. Really, the experience is enjoyable, 5 stars.
All right, guys. If you want good photographs, Helen Ang is the person to go to. Look out for her comment
Yeah.
on Facebook.
And see, this is what you get when you comment in the comment on the stream.
Okay.
Right,
Well,
that's
yeah. Well, okay, Jackie. So now that we talk about confidence and how important confidence is,
yeah,
I'm sure that there are some people that all of us know would say that they are not naturally confident, that they tend to be very quiet, they tend to be
quiet.
very timid. Uh,
Mm.
Do you think that confidence is something that can be trained? And okay, let me just clarify, because just
Mm.
because somebody is quiet doesn't mean that they are not confident.
Yeah, yeah. It
Yeah,
is.
right.
Yeah.
But if let's say they are quiet because they don't believe in themselves to speak up, to stand
Mm.
up, or to say something or do something, do
Yeah.
you think it can be trained?
Yes. The short answer is yes. It definitely can be trained. Yeah, but like also I feel that confidence, right? Confidence. There are different perspectives to take on confidence. In fact, a friend of mine, a coach, Haider, he's this friend. He's a peak performance coach, and we have a lot of conversations all the time. And one of these conversations eventually became about confidence. Yeah. So I mean, we weren't directly discussing it, but what I learned from the situation was that he and I derived confidence from different methods. Right? For him, he is a confident person because he has a lot of achievements. He has things that he has built for himself. He has this foundation that he was able to lean on and feel confident about it. So the things that he do, for example, like he's an excellent speaker, he delivers wonderful speeches methodically, and he's able to really engage and captivate his audience. And that is because of his years of training, his years of analysis and practice to really develop that. And from that, he's able to draw large crowds. He's able to win contests, and that itself becomes a badge of honor. And when you have this badge of honor, naturally we are able to feel more confident. Yeah. In fact, actually, why we are talking about confidence is because we are talking about interacting with girls. And confidence is definitely a very, very important factor, whether a girl likes you or not, especially in the dating scene. Yeah.
Give us a tip, man.
Sorry.
Give us a tip.
Yeah, really. Okay, like a tip, right? Why you mentioned earlier that you asked earlier whether this confidence can be trained or not. And I would like to tell you from experience that it can be trained, even without any accomplishments, without any prior experience, right? That confidence can be developed slowly, bit by bit, and that actually happened for me because back when I was in secondary school, about sec two, I was I was very close. I was a very closed up individual. I was overweight. I still am overweight, but nothing. That part has not changed. But another part has changed, and that was the my confidence, or rather my self esteem. I was a very introverted person. I had very very few friends, and somewhere through sec two, realized something. I realized that the people around me, they were having a lot of friends. They were having a lot of connections. They were having a lot of fun, and I, in my own little bubble, I had a lot of trouble connecting with other people. Partly because mainly because I was bullied back in primary school. I started to close up, and that also hit my self-esteem. So what happened at the point of time was that I told myself that this isn't what I want to be. This isn't where I want to be. So I decided to to take small steps to reach out. I wasn't thinking about becoming more confident, but I was thinking about, there were certain things that I have to do. Like, I need to initiate conversations with people. I need to talk to, I need to be able to talk better with girls. So, yeah, so since you're asking about the talking to girls part, so I decided to model after some people. There was this guy in my class who was very very good with the girls, and he had this cocky demeanor about him, and so I started to observe what he did, and I started to uh, learn model after him a bit. Yeah. So there's this really really embarrassing story. I think I'll share, right? Okay. Uh so uh so I observed him tell this to a girl once. So this girl was talking to him and then asking him for something, like, hey, no, let's call him Tom. Hey Tom, hey, can you help me get this or not? I think it's for homework. Yeah. Hey Tom, can you help me get this or not? And Tom, being the playboy that he is, he said, don't want leh, don't want leh. Then the girl is like, met with a rejection, like, come on lah, help lah. And it's like, you 撒娇 a bit. And 撒娇 is actually Chinese for, how do we say 撒娇in English? You
It's like a bit like whiny like that.
whiny, try to appeal to the guys, right? Yeah. So he said that to her. He said that to her, you 撒娇 a bit. And the girl was like, "Walao, you so bad one." And I saw like that was a positive interaction, I think. Yeah. So eventually, uh, I had an interaction with. We were working on some project, and and eventually, so I did. And then that girl asked me for something. Yeah. And just nice, Tom was in that group as well. Very interesting. Okay, so that girl asked me for something. Hey Jackie, can you help me do this or not? And I say, don't want leh. Then the girl go and like, huh? Walao, so easy you don't want. And say you 撒娇 a bit. So at that point of time, you have to understand, because the girl that I was talking to, that was asking for something from me, was not say attractive. So the usual thought is like, what, this is like flirting, and you only do that to girls who, like, you might have an interest in.
Yeah.
So at that point of time, I said, you 撒娇 a bit. And Tom looked at me like, what what the hell are you doing, man? At the point of time, I realized that like that doesn't matter, and then the girl was like, oh.
But all the memories from childhood,
But that left a very very deep impression of me, because the thing that I did was that I saw someone who was confident, someone who was good at talking to girls, and I modeled after him. I started to like learn a bit, try to follow what he did, and then apply that to my experiences. Slowly,
very
although
important things is in modeling, right? Because
yeah, modeling,
that's how we actually get better. You look at whoever is doing well, and you
yeah.
pick up the best from them, and you put it into practice, and that's how you actually become better.
Yeah, and the more we do it, right, the more we do it, the more it becomes ingrained in us. It becomes a sort of habit. Yeah,
Mm.
and yeah, even though I have no accomplishments, I had no like, really like thing badge of honor to wear. Those things I slowly did it like day after day. At first it was excruciating, like you could tell from that experience that I shared. It was painfully awkward. It was painfully cringy. Yeah, but slowly I did it day by day, day by day. It becomes a habit. It became second nature, and
So confidence is
uh,
actually something that has to be built up over time.
yeah, and that was my form of confidence, which was different from my friend, which was different from Idols. Idols, he had his confidence from his competence, right? For me,
Mm.
I had my confidence from my habits, right? Yeah.
Okay.
I, so
Oh, by the way,
so
do you
give me a
dare
moment. I
to
want
say
to
hi?
sorry.
DJ,
I want to
hi, yeah.
expand a bit on this, because I think
Yeah.
this is one point that made it really cemented, and that idea for me, that insight for me, was because when I was about 3 or 4 years ago, when I was in insurance, I was doing very very poorly. I was making maybe $20,000 a year, which is less than 2K a month. Yeah, and I had I had I was feeling really really poorly about myself. I had nothing to me. I had no money. I had no I had no social proof. I had no nothing to me. And even at that point of time, right, even at the point of time, from some of my interactions, I was able to I realized that there were some girls who were they were sort of interested in me, and I could tell from their interactions, and I realized that was because of the way that I carried myself, right? And how I carried myself was from those habits, how I interacted with people, how I presented myself, how I walked. And I started to understand that this confidence, I had nothing to be confident about. Yeah,
Mm.
but there was a confidence there because it had developed into a habit already. Yeah, so that
So
is
that's
so
actually very
this
important
really
in gaining that kind of confidence.
yeah, this creates a I think this create really becomes a testament to how confidence can be trained, can be developed. Yeah.
Yeah, and actually, to develop confidence doesn't require that much money. Some people think it's a very expensive thing. You really just have to be a little bit more observant
Yes, yes.
about looking at the people who you
Mm,
think or look confident, and ask yourself,
yeah.
what are they doing that makes them come across as confident? And if
Yes.
we are able to pull out one or two of those actions, that are that's things that we can implement, and then we ourselves will come across as more confident.
Yeah, yeah. And the other part is the consistency. In order to build those habits, you really need to do it. It's like going to the gym, right? The resistance training really makes things a lot easier for yourself. It builds the mental muscles. Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. So that
Oh,
it becomes second nature, a lot easier.
oh, Jackie, you have some friends who are here for saying
Yes,
hi.
yes.
Kia
Uh,
Wing,
uh,
Tristan, Corina,
yeah.
hello.
Hello, Tristan and Corina. Actually, a couple of friends I met through an online course recently. Yeah, Tristan is a dentist, and he's really consistent. He's really building his brand online, and you can see the results already. Yeah,
Ah.
amazing. Yeah.
Oh, anyone needs some dental work? Tristan is your guy. I remember once I was in primary school. That was the first time where I actually figured out a little bit of this modeling thing. It didn't quite work out so well for me,
Oh.
but here's what happened. uh,
Oh,
so
right.
my first crush was, I think, 10 or
Ah,
11 years old.
okay.
Yeah,
Right. All ears.
but
I think the audience could stay tuned.
yeah, no, but that time, right? Uh, I was the guy who, at 10 years old, when I realized I had to wear specs, well, I was like devastated because I was like, wow, my life is over already now that I have to wear specs. Like my self-confidence and my esteem plunged like nobody's business. Yeah.
Oh my
And then
goodness.
I went with my mom to our optician. And they said, oh, yeah, never mind, since you're so young, wear plastic frame. I had no idea what's plastic frame, so I say yes. So it came up that transparent frame. Yeah, and I realized that all the girls I like, right, never like me back. And I noticed the kind of guys that they like, right? I all those like a bit naughty kind. And I like to think that I'm a guai kia lah. So I tried to do what they did. And I realized that I don't know if we are the same batch or what, but remember that time in primary school, there's a time where the trend, right, was actually in center parting. Everybody comb center parting.
Yeah, I
And
think
then,
so.
yeah, correct. Then in
Yeah.
the front, right, they comb the curry puff on top.
Yeah. That was
Yeah,
the Abing hairstyle of that time, right?
yeah, correct. But those were the people who got all the girls.
Oh,
Then
okay.
I was actually like really curious.
Yeah.
So the first thing I asked them is, hey, why your hair comb like that? You know what they tell me?
Yeah.
防晒
Huh?
防晒 to protect from the sun. And I really go and believe it. Yeah. And then I asked, hey, how you comb your hair like that? And then he said, hey, you just buy gel lah. I'm like, what on earth is gel? So I went back and I told my mom, Mommy, I want gel.
Yeah.
So my mom bought my first ever tube of gel. I looked at it. I had no idea how to use it. And I locked myself in the toilet for 2 hours because I tried to squeeze, right, the gel. Then I put on my hair. Hey, how come like the hair still so wet like that? Then I just keep squeezing until I squeeze half the tube. And I realized that the hair, how come it's still so wet and still so soft? I was like, forget it lah. And then I went back to my room. And after a while, I was quite tired, right? So I lie down on my bed. When my head hit the pillow, holy crap, the hair was like rock hard. It's like I think a tornado come also, my hair won't move. Yeah.
The gel dried already.
It dried after 2 hours.
Okay. I see.
It's
I
not-
see. I thought it was wet and then you lie on pillow. You lay on pillow.
No. Oh, but that was not just gel. That was half a tube of gel at one go.
Oh my god.
Yeah, but I mean, these are things that you tend to start doing from a very young age. Sometimes it's because of esteem. Sometimes it's because you really just want to try and model people and gain the confidence. You look at them, that's how they look confident. So I also try. Yeah, I did come out more confident, but I didn't get the girl.
So it is. We've all been there, man. We've all been there.
One of the things that I noticed from some of the people that I speak to, sometimes it is people that I coach, sometimes these are new students. And one of the things that I notice is for a lot of them, they say that I'm not confident. But
Yeah.
the reason that they give is because, hey, what if I do something wrong and then, very embarrassing?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot about people's impression. Right? They
Yeah.
worry a lot about what other people think.
Yeah.
Do you think that's an important barrier to get over?
Mm, that it is important, but I feel that we also need to recognize that it is something that we have to encounter, we have to face, right? Because there's because naturally we are humans, we have like the nervousness response. We also have this natural tendency to think about how people might view us, and I think this is also because humans have evolved as social creatures, so we require that social approval subconsciously. So it is important. So once we recognize that this is something that we encounter, then we can do something. Then we can do something about that thought, how to overcome it, right? So of course, one way to think about this is that, you know, uh, the person who there's this saying, there's this like, the person who cares most about how you look is yourself, right? Think about some of your friends, and try to recall what are some of the embarrassing things that they have done, and you realize that you don't really recall anything. I mean, you might recall something that was really really very big, but then if you are able to laugh at it, you are able to laugh at yourself. That really helps you. That really helps us, you know, move on and learn from it better. Just like I'm going to go back to my sec two story again, right? Yeah. So another thing about me in secondary two was that I had a very short temper. Whenever someone teased me a bit, I would take it very seriously and I would blow up. Yeah. So the in so also during sec two, I learned that, if I wanted to have friends, I wanted to have better friends, I needed to make I needed to work on my temper, such that I don't get so angry. I don't push people away. And so one of the very important thing that I learned to help work on my own anger is to be able to laugh at myself. So when my friends, so I had this friend, his name was Shan Wei. He made fun of me all the time, and he was those kind of mischievous kid, because he would get a huge reaction out of me. I would blow up, then I would like shout and scream, and I think he got a kick out of it. He was those type of like little, like, gremlin. Yeah. Uh so but slowly I started to make mental changes myself. I told myself, if he teases me, I laugh along at it. I laugh at myself. And slowly I realized over time, he started to tease me less and less. But and slowly, instead of an antagonistic uh relationship with him, we started to become very good friends. Yeah, we started to become people, and then we used to play like card games like Magic the Gathering together all the time. So yeah, so you know being able to laugh and accept our own mistakes, our own shortcomings, really can help do wonders for our self-esteem. Yeah.
Well, it's one of those things where we have to be able to learn to laugh at ourselves.
Yeah.
But also part of it is remembering that there is still some good in us, because I think that
Yeah. Yeah.
it's especially important for all of us, whether you're just starting out or whether you've been
Mm,
doing whatever work you're doing for a while. For me and Jackie, it happens to be training, it
yeah.
happens to be speaking, it happens to be entertaining. Um,
Mm,
Sometimes you will have a bad day,
yeah.
even after many weeks,
Definitely.
even after many classes.
Yeah.
Uh, and you know that at the end of that, you come out of that event,
Mm,
you just feel like crap. I don't know a better way to
I
describe
know.
But sometimes it is not really the audience doesn't feel that
Yeah.
way.
Yes. We are our own biggest critics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
So
how have you? I mean, have you had a time in your life where things went really badly, and like, how do you cope with it?
I, well, in fact, all the time I think. Yeah,
Really?
there were no, yeah, that makes me sound like I'm a terrible MC. But in fact, like I said, we are our own biggest critics, and very often when at times which I felt I didn't do such a good job. I think one way to look at it was that I set very high expectations for myself, and I don't meet those expectations. And an analogy of this sort of things. Analogy of this sort of things would be that, uh, like say a musician. A musician plays a piece, yeah, and then there he screws up in a couple of notes. Right. Very often the audience don't realize at all. Yeah. If you're like for us speakers, right? Sometimes
Mm.
we forget a point that we were trying to make, or we phrase something poorly. And then you talk to the audience. The audience you realize that the audience didn't catch that mistake at all.
Mm.
Yeah. And for us, we need to be able to. It is important to recognize those mistakes, but at the same time, it is important to not focus too much on those mistakes. Yeah, like
Mm.
I think this one I shared with you before. There's this thing called the missing tile syndrome.
Mm.
Right?
Mm.
Let's
Mm.
say you
Mm.
look at let's say you look at a wall, like the bathroom wall. It is made of tiles, so there are tile. The entire wall is filled with tiles, and then now imagine that on that bathroom wall, one of those tiles are missing. One of those tiles is missing. So our mind very naturally we start to focus on that missing tile. And because we start to focus on that missing tile, we realize that we think that this bathroom wall is not beautiful, it's not perfect. Why? Because there's a missing tile. And this is like for what happens for ourselves. Right? Often we encounter a mistake. Like after we encounter a mistake, we start to think like, oh, things are terrible because we made that mistake. But what we fail to realize is that the rest of the bathroom wall still has a beautiful, wonderful tiles. And that is the thing that we need to be able to recognize with what we do as well. Instead of just focusing on that mistake and discounting the rest of what we have done, right? I believe that we need to be able to take a step back, look at the entire wall, and realize that the wall isn't just about that missing tile, right? It's the entire wall that counts. Same like what we do. It's
Mm.
not that like if I'm on stage, I mess up something, but the rest of the show goes great. Easily, naturally, I will think a lot about the point where I messed up. But
Mm.
I still need to recognize that hey, the rest of the show was still a wonderful show. The audience still had a great time, you know, having fun. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very similar to me in the sense that it's a lot about being honest with yourself, right? I mean,
Yes.
sometimes when things went wrong, you have to acknowledge that they go wrong, and of course, more importantly, is to ask yourself what you can do to make it better the next time.
Yeah.
While at the same time, don't don't have to beat yourself up too hard.
Yeah. Yeah. You gotta recognize
I
that. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's like for every trainer, you will definitely have okay, at the end of the training program, sometimes you have those evaluation sheets.
Oh
Sometimes
yes.
students write things for you and they write comments and they give you notes and stuff.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. Sometimes when you read the comments
Yeah.
and you ask yourself, really, wow, I got so jialat,
Yeah.
you know. And then on the other
Yeah.
hand, you have people giving you notes and telling you, you've done a good job and all that.
Yes.
So I mean,
Yeah.
for me, I tend to have to keep a nice balance. So I actually have like one tin where I have all the really nice cards and the nice comments that the students give me, because when the times are not good, when sometimes I have, well, not just one, but I have a series of bad classes. Sometimes you go into a class, the class is not participating, it's a quiet class, you get through the entire, you feel like something is just missing. Then at the end of the day, when you go back, you just feel like it could have been better. And I will sometimes open up the tin and I'll take a look, and I'll also remind myself that, hey, I've actually done pretty well, and there are still people who appreciate the kind of work that we do. It's more important to just move ahead. But I also have the other side of it. The other side.
Speaking of the feedback, I want to share something. We did a class, we did a training session workshop together, right? At, I think one of the some primary school in Woodlands. So the first class was there. And this is a gem for you guys who are watching the stream right now. So Sean and I, the first class was a combined class. So there were 2 trainers in the class. Sean and I, we were partnered together. And then, so after that, the class was split into like half of the class goes with one of the trainers, the other half of the class goes with the other trainer, right? So towards the end of the session, so you said we had those feedback forms. And so I read on a couple of those feedback forms, right? The students, they actually asked why Mr. Sean only teach one class. I was like, hello, what's wrong with me?
Hey, but you're the one who got a big gift from the student.
Hey.
No, I mean, over the years, we realized that students, they have different ways of showing their appreciation. Some of them, they write notes. Some of them, they make stuff for you. It's a really nice gesture, and I think all of us who are in training, you know that when somebody does that to you, you feel really touched and you feel really appreciated.
Indeed, and like for myself, I at the end of show, sometimes for myself, I think another part that helps us in our confidence, because like I said, confidence is habits, right? Can come from habits. And at the same time, habits can form as a result of reinforcement, positive reinforcement, right? So that means when you do it's like when in school we answer the question correctly, and then the teacher or our mom says, wow, good job, so smart, and feel better about ourselves, and then we like the subject a little bit more. So, like, I think one of the things that that's very natural to our psyche, our minds, is that we tend to discount compliments. We tend to focus more on negative feedback and discount compliments. And we need to recognize that, because there are compliments from a lot of different places. Like when I do a show, the very obvious compliment is, let's say after I finish the show, I finish the dinner and dance, and then a participant comes up to me and say, wow, hey, thanks so much, man. Wow, we really enjoyed ourselves. That is a direct compliment. But an indirect compliment, we need to be able to recognize the indirect compliments, which is like during the show itself, the audience responding very positively. You see these, like for me, I see the smiles on my audience faces. I see them having fun. I see them just making merry, and that is a way of drawing positive feedback, recognizing that I have done the job well. Another form is like when like I did a show, I did a dinner and dance for the second year for this company. They decided to get me back for the second year, and I remembered some of the audience members, and then I mentioned that. I said, "Wow, hey, you were the one last year who did this, did that, right?" And you could see their face. Wow, you remember? And those are the little things that we need to count that really help us a lot.
And I think that brings across a very important point, because a lot of times when people look for areas of success so that they gain some confidence that they are in the right direction, right? A lot of times people tend to look only at the final product, at the end of the class, at the end of an event, at the end of a contract. But you actually, one big goal, it's made up of many, many small little goals. And sometimes progress means doing one little bit a bit better, and you see the reaction, and you gain confidence from the little things that matter. And I think that it's very important for us to not lose sight of the little things while working towards the big goal, which is overall having a good class, overall having a good counseling session, overall having a good event. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, and as we were talking about generating confidence from either competencies or generating confidence from your habits. Right. So far that's what we've been speaking about. And for those of you who just joined us, in general, Jackie has been saying that there are two ways that we can generate confidence. One is generating it through competence, being really good at something, and recognizing that you've done well on your way there. The second thing is confidence that comes from consistency, or as Jackie likes to call it, habits. Generating good habits that allow you to gain that kind of confidence. Just because you've done it more and more and more. I mean, in general, if you've done something more frequently and more often, if it's not a new feeling, you tend to go in feeling a bit more confident, don't you think?
Definitely.
Yeah. Well, what in your journey to become a professional MC, what are some important habits that you have developed that allow you to be so successful, especially when you're performing on stage?
Okay, habits, right? Habits. I think one of the habits is really like we have is, like we mentioned in the previous session, was knowing the purpose. So if I know my purpose, whether it's to entertain the crowd, whether it's to make sure that things flow smoothly, I'm able to direct all my efforts there, even subconsciously, because I really drill that purpose into me. It makes it second nature to help direct it. And the other thing that really helps me, right, is to is that I have this process where I like to visualize how the show might go. Right. Let's say I will be hosting a dinner and dance.
Wait, so this visualization is before the event, the night before, or at the start of the event, or weeks before, or
this visualization actually, for me it is a form of it's like a background music playing in my head. Like I go about my activities of daily living. Maybe I can be on the public transport, whether I can be playing computer games, I can be talking to my friends. Sometimes in the back of my head, I will play the scenario of what it might look like in the ballroom. And and for me, for those scenarios, I focus a lot on what kind of feelings I want to draw out from the audience, what kind of atmosphere it is inside the ballroom. So my whole idea, because like for a dinner and dance, for annual dinner celebration, what we want people to do is to have fun, is to have a wonderful, enjoyable night where they cast their worries aside. And for me, it's very important for me to create that experience, how to create it, how to facilitate it. So I focus on those feelings, and what so in my mind I play like the kind of in general things. I do the flow of the event, like how it flows from one point to another, and the kind, like how people respond, or how I look like on stage.
so
All these.
you essentially visualize the entire event.
Yes. Yeah, not very intensely, but I keep playing it over and over in my head to, to make it, to familiarize myself with how I want things to go.
And when you actually get onto the stage, it kind of it's not a new feeling. You kind of visualized it.
In fact, actually, here's the thing. When I get on stage, very often, it plays out differently.
Oh, is that so? So
It plays out
things play
differently.
out very differently. When things play out very differently and things don't go according to plan, they don't go according to how you visualize.
Yeah.
How do you manage that composure and still appear to be, so comfortable, so confident in front of everyone?
Okay, I guess what is different as in the process, either whether the response from the audience are different, or whether the things didn't flow as well as they did, right? So, but the idea of the visualization is, like I mentioned earlier, is about the feelings, the experiences that people have. Yeah. So when I have that as my goal, I set it as my, like my GPS destination. My All my actions, whatever I do, will help to direct what I do towards those experiences. And so usually, although things usually play out differently, but the kind of feelings, the kind of experiences that I want to create are usually I usually achieve them as well. Right. For me, I don't because I'm not I would say that I'm not a very methodical person. I'm not a very like step by step, rule by rule person. Like the MBTI classifications,
Mhm.
MBTI profiling. Yeah, I believe that the fourth letter, judging versus perceiving, you're a very J type, is it, right? Are you?
I can't remember, man.
Okay, so there's the J type. The J type is that things must have a schedule, must have a plan, and it must go according to this plan. And then there's the P type, which is the perceiving type. So and the perceiving type likes to leave things open, likes to have options. And for
Mm.
me, for me that is the case. So I like to have my options. I like to be flexible. So usually when things don't play out with according to what I have imagined, what I have visualized in my head, I still how to say? I think I ride the wave. Right? There's still a although it's a different scenario, it's a different situation. There's still a current there's still a current to the event, to the program. And for
Mm.
me, I am able, because I know where I want to go, I'm able to ride that wave and, leverage on what sort of things are happening during the program, what sort of things are happening at the actual event itself.
So in a
And
sense, you're saying that remembering the final destination
yeah,
is very important because there's not just one way of getting there. You could go
yes,
left and right and left and right, but if eventually you
yeah,
get there, then the purpose of the event or the purpose of you being at
yeah,
the event is fulfilled.
yes, yeah. And I think one thing that is very important is to enjoy the process.
Yeah.
Enjoy the process, especially
Yeah.
because when I host dinner and dance events, and I host these annual dinner events, what I want the audience to do is to enjoy themselves. And the, and one and the way that I can really create that is to have fun myself. So when I'm having fun, I am able to, help everyone. I'm able to, influence everyone into having fun. Like
Now,
so,
and that's
so
where it
like
comes to
yeah,
taking care of yourself and being
yeah,
kind to
yeah,
yourself.
yes, yeah. It's like
Okay.
I think in this interview, right? Like we were sharing some anecdotes earlier, and we were really and we and from those anecdotes, because like whether it's embarrassing story, it was just very fun. And I think as we laugh on this interview, I think some of it it influences some of our audience. I think this sort of emotion helps our audience feel help our audience enjoy the whole process a lot more as well. Yeah,
Yeah. Oh, I think so.
yeah.
Especially since we are almost coming to an hour.
Wow.
Okay, for everyone who is still here, or people who just joined, welcome. Well, this is Jackie. Jackie is a professional MC. He's been here for two parts already. This is his second session with us, and this is his final session with us, at least for this series. If there's anything you'd like to know about the role or the job of a professional MC, how he builds rapport, how he shows such confidence in front of his audience, well, now's a good time to ask the question,
Oh.
right, before Jackie runs off.
I can't run anywhere, man. It's a circuit breaker period. Second last day already.
Few more days.
Yeah, it's still
things will
phase
get
one.
better. Yeah. Okay. While we're waiting for some questions, let's just have a quick summary of today's session, confidence. I'm going to ask you a question, and short and sharp.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see what the answer is. All right. So name me 3 things that confident people typically do.
3 things that confident people typically do. I think first thing I think of is posture, very upright posture. You can see the confidence in the way a person stands. The second thing is the intent. So let's say a person who is confident, he shakes your hand. Let's talk about handshakes. You can feel the confidence from the handshake. It's firm. It is intentional. Yeah. Versus a handshake that is unsure, uncertain. You'll feel that the confidence is not. You feel that the confidence is not there. Whether or not the handshake is from habit or whether it's from uncertainty. Third thing, confident people. I think confident people are not as affected by negative comments or in other ways negative feedback. Negative feedback is still feedback. Yeah, but people who are confident, they are able to take the negative feedback in a constructive and positive way. Yeah. As opposed to feeling attacked
and feeling sorry for themselves.
Yes.
Okay, next question. 3 things that non-confident people, or 3 habits that non-confident people typically exhibit.
3 habits that non-confident people typically exhibit. Yeah. Okay. Oh, isn't that like the opposite answers to the earlier question?
Well, let's see what comes out.
Yeah. So 3 things that first thing is in the first thing is again the posture. This because what happens in our mind comes out in our bodies as well, subconsciously. So you can see the person is if a person is not confident, he or she will have a body language that is more close, smaller actions, a bit smaller. They don't pick up as much space.
more slouch.
Yeah.
They tend to be
That's right.
less confident. All right.
Yeah.
What's the habit of people who are not confident?
The other one, this one reminds me of one of my friend whom I met in reservist. So he was it felt like he was not a very confident person. One thing I could see from his posture. The other thing that I realized was that, when he wanted to pat me on, he wanted to, hey Jackie, we need to go off for to go off for our break. So instead of a firm pat on the arm, right? His touch was very unsure, very uncertain. So it's like a very light touch.
And you can feel the uncertainty.
Yeah, you feel that uncertainty. And so I told him, if you want next time, if you want to touch people, you need to touch properly.
It sounds wrong.
That's not very right. You need to touch firm, and because if you're uncertain, right, the uncertainty, it comes across in the touch, and it can come across as creepiness. It may not be with the opposite gender, right?
Mm.
But even for I myself, during the in-camp training, the way that he pat me on the arm, it just there was an uneasiness that was carried across.
Mm. Mm.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the third
Final
thing,
habit. Final habit
I know
of a person who is typically not confident.
they will not be. Will. They tend to be less honest.
Oh, is that so?
They tend to be less honest. Okay, this is another aspect of the this is the other aspect of what's that of feedback, right? Because earlier I mentioned that confident people are able to take proper feedback well, but then a person who is not confident, he or she will uh, be less likely to give honest upfront feedback. Why? Because he or
Mm.
she doesn't have that confidence that the other person will be able to take it well. Yeah. What if the person dislikes me? What if the person gets angry at me? Uh,
Mm.
yeah. But at the end of the day, nobody wins. Yeah.
Yeah, but one of those things about giving feedback I mean, it's one of those things we learned when we are evaluating speeches, right? If you
Yeah.
felt
That's
that
right.
way, it is your feeling, and it's okay to reflect that feeling. Whether
Yeah.
the other person takes it or not is for him or her to decide.
Yeah.
But if you felt that way, it's perfectly fine to provide a suggestion.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right, and the final round of questions to summarize our topic for
Yeah.
today. If someone is looking for a bit of confidence because they are at a difficult time in
Yep.
their life, what are three things that they should be thinking about doing?
Looking for a bit of confidence in their day-to-day life.
A
Okay.
boost of confidence, yeah.
Boost of confidence. Okay. I think
Mm.
the first one is to uh first one is to count our positive feedback. I mentioned earlier that there is positive reinforcement from many different things. We need to be able to recognize those, and we need to be able to accept the feedback. So that is the first thing, because it's very easy to receive. When you receive positive reinforcement, it really helps a lot.
Mm.
So recognize what are the things that you are doing right. What are the things that people are appreciating about you.
Mm.
Yeah.
Okay. What's
And
the second thing?
second thing, second thing, easy way is to check your posture. Shoulders, very important thing about the shoulders. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, uh, so perhaps like this, I think this mm, wisdom stems from NLP. So, find a word in your head. Maybe you see uh the word is clock, right?
Mm-hmm.
So associate this word with your shoulders. Don't associate it with confidence, because confidence is a very abstract concept. Right? Associate it with shoulders. So every time you see a clock, or you think about time, you want to check the clock, what time is it? It gives you a signal. It gives you a reminder to uh, pull back your shoulders, and sit upright. So
Mm.
this itself, although it may seem very not very related to confidence, but the posture, the way the way that the like I mentioned earlier, our thoughts come out in our body.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing goes the other way around as well. When we
Mm.
have a positive body language, when we have a confident body language, our body might sort of trick our brains into thinking that we are feeling confident.
So if we are able to put something into action, it tends to come through in our
Yes,
demeanor, in our
yeah,
action. So
that's right.
the physical action itself is very important.
Yeah, so it's just like how people say to smile, right? To
Yeah.
smile so when you smile, the more you smile, the more you subconsciously feel, happier.
Yeah. And by
Yeah.
the way, the more you smile, the more people smile back at you.
Yes, that's right.
As
And
long
that
as
can
not
be that can be our third tip. That can be our third tip, really. So
really.
I mean, it doesn't really work well in this pandemic situation because you can't see the smiles.
Mm-hmm.
But an easy way is to we pass a lot of people all the time on street,
Mm.
right? Yeah, but this is something that I noticed when I was jogging, when I still did exercise. Yeah, so as I ran past other joggers, sometimes I would give them a smile.
Mm,
I would give them like, hey, hey,
mm,
a smile and a slight nod.
mm,
Hey, great, hey, keep running, that sort of thing. So,
mm,
and sometimes they would smile back. Sometimes they would sometimes they wouldn't respond. Sometimes they would smile back, and reciprocation, that reciprocation becomes a form of positive feedback as well, right?
mm.
So because when you smile to someone and someone acknowledges you, you feel like, oh, you feel a bit better, yeah.
Yeah,
So
that's true.
if you see someone you don't know, maybe you don't have the habit of saying hi to strangers. A simple smile and a simple smile will be a simple smile is great. Okay? It gives them the opportunity to reciprocate, and that gives you the acknowledgement that you can use to feel better about yourself.
Because actually, when you smile, most people will smile back.
Yeah,
Yeah, at least that's in my experience.
yeah.
Yeah. All right.
We
So that
we have a Jocelyn has a asked a question.
okay. That's an important question for
Yeah,
you.
yeah.
Before that, Siu Yong. Hi, Siu Yong. Thanks for joining us. Siu Yong is one of my ex students. So nice
Ah,
to hear you, Siu Yong. Hello. Okay.
hello.
Jocelyn says, nowadays a lot of friends choose us to become an MC for their wedding. Uh, is there any reason why we should choose you instead of a potential friend as an MC? All right, Jackie.
Okay. Oh, this has nothing to do with confidence, but
Let's see how confident.
I can share a bit of insight on this because this is something that a lot of us might encounter. Even yourself. I remember we did have a conversation. We did have a couple of conversations about hosting your friend's wedding because Sean was volunteered by his friend to host his wedding, and so he came to me, asked for tips. Yeah. So Justin asks, is there any reason why they should choose me instead of their friend? Yeah. The straightforward answer is yes. There are plenty of reasons to choose a professional, and yes, there are also plenty of reasons to choose your friend. Yeah. It depends on what sort. It depends on what you want to have for a wedding. For a wedding. So for example, right? Uh, so what you might have for normally when people ask friends to do host their weddings, I think the biggest reason I can think of is because it saves money, or it's either that or they have a friend who is very keen, very enthusiastic about helping. Right. What are some of the differences? I could say, like, firstly, definitely is definitely the very first reason is the experience that a professional has. A professional, I we see things that might happen during the wedding, like whether simple examples is, the bride and groom don't know where to go, ever come up on stage and then they look left and right where to go. So like when they pop the champagne, right? If things happen, whether the pop cork breaks off. So these are contingencies that might happen, and first, a professional firstly would have the experience of dealing with these sort of things, might either anticipate or might have the experience or might experience something similar before to be able to deal with that, right? A friend, right? A friend, you would really have to see his or her experience. There are some friends who are very talented who are able to, help to cover those contingencies very well. But then sometimes we also have to encounter uh, awkwardness, right? The awkwardness of not knowing what to say, and then the audience has to deal with the silence itself. Of course, I do have to give a I do have to give a pro for having your friends as well. The If you are having your friend as a host, the likelihood is that the friend knows you better, and if the friend is comfortable with it, he or she would be able to he or she would be able to have a much more intimate interaction. Maybe poke a bit of fun at the couple, and or bring up some stories to share with the audience that might help everyone understand the couple a bit more or enjoy themselves. And also the professional, right? The professional, most of the time we meet up with the couple maybe once or twice before the weddings, and during that session we must be able to find out as much as we can, and then we have to see we have to see the personality of the hired MC as well. Because like for myself, I'm a person who loves to make fun of other people. So when I host weddings, right? I host weddings. I tell the bride and groom, you guys have to. I hope that you guys are sporty, because I will take the opportunity to poke a bit of fun at you, and of course you need to be able to do it in a way that everyone is able to enjoy ourselves. We don't make fun of them at their expense. Yeah, that's a very thin line that we have to walk. So yeah, the pros of having a professional, is that you know that he or she is very experienced and more likely to create a smooth flow and a more enjoyable experience for your audience. Now, the pros of having your friend as an MC, right, would be that he or she might be able to create something that is more intimate, something that is more candid with the audience, so that everyone would be able to enjoy themselves with a more intimate interaction. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and I remember the time when I actually asked Jackie out to give me some advice on how to MC a wedding. For those of you who are around, if you see me MCing your wedding, if you enjoyed it, well, it's really down to Jackie's coaching from the times when I helped my friends, all the way to the time when I got my first paid gig as an MC for someone's wedding. Jackie gave a lot of advice, a lot of things that I should think about.
So
and
if
that's
it's thanks to me, where's my share?
Oh, it's coming. That's why I invited you on the stream. So that people who are listening on can engage you. All right. So everyone, well, please join me in thanking Jackie for spending his time. Well, in fact, 2 weekends with us discussing issues on how to talk about rapport, how to build rapport, how to get our audience to be comfortable with us, as well as how to develop confidence within ourselves. Right? If you have
Thank you for having me.
interested in him hosting your event, well, emceejacks.com, emceejacks.com. Nice guy, a true professional, and he'll make your event awesome. And I can promise that.
Find me on Facebook as well. In fact, I have some videos like that. Just the judo video earlier we shared, right? I have some other videos of the actual interactions during the events itself, and I hope you find it entertaining. Yep. Thank you for seeing us. Oh, and Raja Lakshmi. Nice. Thank you for staying with us.
Yeah. Thank you, Lakshmi. Thanks, Prof. Chan. Hi, Prof. Chan. Thank you, Karina, for hanging out with us. And Jackie, I will see you soon after circuit breaker ends, and we'll go on one of our drinks.
Okay. Oh, well, you make it sound really suspicious, man.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Right. Everyone else, thank you so much for joining us. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. As you all know, I just started a channel sometime last week, and I'm still finding my way around, but I'm on a mission to hit my first 100 subscribers. I remember the time when I got my first subscriber, I was so happy. I woke up one day, I took out my phone, and there's on your phone, there is the notification, what someone has subscribed to your YouTube channel. And I went in to check. Do you know who it was? It's actually myself. So I subscribed the night before. I don't know how come it took one day for the notification to come in. But anyway, the last time I checked, we were at 9 subscribers. My aim is to get to 100 subscribers. If you enjoyed the session, please go and subscribe to the YouTube channel. It's Pharmacy Mastery with me, with Sean Ang. And I hope to see you soon. We'll be back next Sunday. And next Sunday, it will be me. So every 4 Sundays, I will come by and I will share my thoughts based on what I've learned from all our guests, the insights they have, and more importantly, how we can apply it in our work, be it as a coach or like for myself as a healthcare professional. All right, so everyone, thank you so much for hanging out. Go ahead, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and I will see you next Sunday at 3 o'clock. Bye-bye.